And that's Brian. And this is R&B Talks.
Hello, everyone.
Yo.
Welcome to our newest and greatest episode.
Woohoo.
Greatest. That was kind of a bold statement, kind of a bold call out there, but I'm going to say
Being
it.
as this is the second time we've done this. Whoops.
How true.
Yeah.
You're getting the reboot, guys. This is the remix.
I could have put it up there because it was just me talking.
Yeah.
And then it was like you would see your mouth moving.
Dude, you would that would have been weird. That just would have been weird, man. That just would have been weird.
It was truly a one-sided conversation.
Yeah, just would have been weird.
Yeah.
Like super weird.
But it's here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
So, Reggie, how was your 2 days?
Well, technically for them it's been a week.
So, how was your week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go.
It's been a week, man.
Bro, it's fine, man. I mean, look, it's just typical things. But it's interesting though. I was thinking about this, like most of this stuff, like I just thought like how awesome it would have been to live like 200 years ago where you don't have all this, like near as much of this complicated crap involved. But
That's right.
then I thought, well, then I'd have to worry about like really feeding your family. Like it's, your day-to-day struggle to like live and stuff. Like, yeah.
Like farming. Like if my corn doesn't grow, we die of starvation.
Yeah, you're blacksmithing or something. If you don't, get this or whatever, you're
got to worry about smelting things. I don't know.
I know, man.
I don't know how to smelt, so I'm going to die.
I'd love to smelt.
I think you could smelt something.
I probably
think
could.
it's in your DNA. You look like a smelting kind of guy. You look like you could smelt some
I
things.
guess. Smiting and smelting.
Smiting and smelting. Right. Reggie the smiter and smelter. I dig it. Right on.
Oh,
all right, dude.
man.
So we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Palestine and Israel.
All right. So look, after our last episode, because we went through a whole bunch of stuff there.
Yep.
There's obviously been more going on and everything else. So I made the mistake. I shouldn't say the mistake, man. I mean, it's good to run across the Israeli Defense Force YouTube channel. They actually have a YouTube channel.
Wait a minute. There's an Israeli Defense Force YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Bruh.
And I think really it came about because of all the just bizarre media stuff that's going on. So I don't know how, maybe it's been there for a long, I just don't know, but I've never seen it until the last couple of days. But it's got a guy on there who's like explaining the whole situation and like showing it on the map and like what happened and all this stuff. And they actually released some like raw footage.
Oh
yeah.
Oh.
Like raw footage of both from dash cam stuff and then from captured GoPro and stuff like that from Hamas people.
wow.
And I watched some of that today just because I really want to you want to know for the truth of what's going on, but man, you don't want to see it. It just makes you sick. If you're a normal person, if you're not a freaking psychopath, it just makes you just want to hurl.
Well, I wanted to say something because something has come up since we talked about this the first time. I keep giving backwards references as if they're going to know them since I was a mute for that whole episode.
They're not.
Netanyahu is showing an amazing amount of restraint right now in allowing aid to come in for the 250,000 or so that are still in the strip. But he's going to have to let it fly. Like any second now, he's got to cut it loose, right? Because he's not going to allow Israel to push aid in. He's already said they'll get zero aid from Israel.
Yeah.
Iran's now trying to push back, which what are they really going to do? Hezbollah's gotten involved. We have a real mess, and Netanyahu's going to have to make a move before it gets worse. So
here's the problem, though.
Yeah.
Is an organization like Hamas who they use human shields, they do all kinds of stuff like this.
Oh, for sure.
So all they're like, they have like bunkers and ammo depots and stuff that are beneath schools, beneath hospitals, and all this stuff. Like they're not just have their own little complex. No, they got them like
they've built the city as a booby trap.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it echoes like what you see in like ISIS and stuff like that too. Taliban, all that crap. That's what they do. They know that people, genuine human beings have like a sense of what's innocent and not. And so, so they hide behind those kind of things. And so like, I can't, it bothers me how Hamas is. It bothers me how this whole thing with Israel's gone through for the 3,000, 4,000 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. What I don't and still can't fathom is how people don't outright just say, no, that's evil. They're kind of almost on the Palestinian Hamas side. And I'm not, absolutely not. Now, you can have an argument to say like, well, why aren't there in Palestine, why aren't there in Israel or whatever? And there's history behind all that. And I mean, we could go like I did a bunch of research on like the history, but I mean, that's all out there for people to go get if they want to,
for sure.
So, but the truth of it is there's been 5 different times where Israel has said, here's how we could divide things and have a Palestinian state. And it's the Palestinians or Arabs or, those people who have said no.
Hezbollah, yeah.
Who said no.
Yeah.
No negotiations. And I mean, if they've even got to that, I forgot where it was where they said no negotiation, no peace, no, there was like no, Yeah. So I mean, look, if you look at this, you have a group that the Palestinians are using as their primary vehicle for what they want, and that's Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They are flat out evil. And regardless of what you think about Palestinians or Israelis or Jewish people or whatever, Hamas is evil.
Yeah.
Period. There's no one. I dare someone to try to argue that point with me. So, I've seen lots of Muslims come up and say we don't condone that or whatever. I've heard all kinds of people. I've actually heard Palestinian people on different interviews or whatever condemn all this stuff. I mean, so I guess what I'm saying is that the focal point should be Hamas.
Yeah.
It doesn't like take out the whole land grab and like the different states or whatever and just focus on who's the aggressor, who's the evil one here. You can make arguments behind like what is some of the stuff the Israeli people have done. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm saying this particular instance, you have a terror attack against, and not even close. It's not like they went after military targets.
Dude, they shot disabled people and elderly people in the back. They beheaded babies. They disemboweled pregnant women and left the bodies of the pregnant women lying there with the baby that they shot still attached to the umbilical cord.
Yes. And unfortunately, I saw some of that.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too. You can make an intelligent argument, Palestine versus Israel, right? You could probably do all the historical research you wanted, and it would be easy for you to make a viable argument, right? Hamas is not a viable argument. Hamas is a horrifying entity who is not only are they evil, but they're cowards, because only a coward would sneak in, murder innocents, and call it justice.
Well, keep in mind though, Israel didn't shut off Gaza from Israel.
Yeah, Britain did.
Well, I know, but even before this all happened, you had people that could go into Gaza from Israel to visit family or even aid and all this kind of stuff was going back and was going over there from there. So they're using that channel to come back into these places that are not militarized, that are just like that concert, that music festival.
Yes.
Where there's just a bunch of 20-year-olds having a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
No. I mean, so the thing is, like, I don't, okay, so I'll pointedly say it. If I was in Netanyahu's position. I don't think I'd be handling it as well as he is. I truly think I would be just totally out for blood, and I would go after. I just would. It just, not that I would try to kill innocents, but I'm sorry, but I would be.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like Netanyahu has shown incredible restraint.
I do too.
Because, I mean, if it were me, I would probably be like, you know what? Got to be done. They got to go. Right. And I hate that because that's my reaction. Right. But he has shown incredible restraint, incredible diplomacy in allowing aid to go in and giving more time to try to get more non-Hamas Palestinians out before they go in. But again, he's only going to be able to do that for so long because eventually Hamas is going to trap innocents in there if they think that's what's keeping them alive. They're not stupid. They're just evil.
So I guess what I'll do, I have like a whole bunch of articles and there's a lot of YouTube stuff about this whole thing that I'm going to put down in the comments. So if anybody wants to read about the history and all that stuff, they can go look at there. There is one thing that I think that I saw that was that we should be thinking about in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And it was Russell Brand actually brought it up. And this particular one will be in the description, but is Hamas using U.S. arms to do these things? And I think it's pretty easy to say yes. Because of all this is the big issue here with all this Middle Eastern stuff. The arms business is like let me see. Hold on. The U.S. sold weapons to 57% of the world's autocracies.
Autocracies, yes.
Yeah, I gotta say. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. 40% of all arms sales in the world since the end of the Cold War are from the U.S., right? Mm-hmm. So this is one of the biggest industries, exports we have is our arms, and we're selling them to everybody, right? And I think that's a huge problem that we need to acknowledge.
Well, that's another question would be not even arms sales. How much of what Hamas and Hezbollah and ISIS that have used over the last, let's say, 30 to 40 years is abandoned military equipment that we left after wars that they repurposed?
Well, especially even this last pullout
Yeah.
with all that stuff. There's a whole lot that just got left behind that the Taliban picked up that also got to Hamas.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot. I mean, we're talking, it's not just a little, but I mean, so I think the current administration has this huge hypocritical nonsense of crap about any of this stuff. One of the big things he pointed out was like, Trump did, he sold arms to Saudi Arabia, but there's like these arms sales get labeled as like various. It doesn't they're not specific. So there was like, I don't forget how many times more Biden's sold to all the stuff in the various category.
And let's be clear, we're not letting Trump off the hook.
No.
You sold arms to a known enemy of ours. So,
but here's the thing that people need to understand, man. It really doesn't matter party. I mean,
at all.
This transcends that. Like the American people need to know that we have government powers. Well, okay. Here's 51% of Congress own stocks in defense contractors.
Yes. Why?
Come on now, and that's 51%, dude. That's not. Come on.
A former vice president of ours was the head of Halliburton. Who supplied, the Iraq war more than Halliburton did? No one. Like, Yeah, I completely get you, man.
I'm just saying, like all this stuff is like it is so fed by the military arms complex, and stuff. It's all fed by that. I mean, you know, that's the part where we, not that. Okay, look, there is the Hamas atrocities and stuff, and yeah. But how did they even become? How are they able to be that way in the first place? Because they're getting supplied by people, or organizations, or governments, or whatever the case may be. It's really stupid. And it's not hard to find out this stuff, but you have to understand when, you know, there's ambiguity in these things for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want you to know that they sold them, you know, like a bunch of freaking anti-air, you know, missiles and, you know, freaking RPGs and automatic weapons and all kinds of stuff. I mean, if you saw it, like, well, there was 30,000, you know, M4s that were sold to the Iranian group, this for, I mean, come on, you know, that's it's just insane. I just think that people, I think particularly where I've seen the most ridiculous and ignorant protests and outrages have been on the campuses of our beautiful country.
Yes.
Like these college professors need to like get, I don't know, they need to get a big dose of reality, and stop brainwashing these freaking college kids into this ideology that is just absolutely built on lies. And I'm not saying there's a right and a left. I'm just saying what is being done right now is a blatant lie and absolutely BS.
Agreed. Colleges, I mean, I can honestly say, you know, growing up as a kid, and I did not go to college, but it was always the American dream for your kid to go to college and get an education. It has become the American nightmare because we're not teaching kids math, science, history in a way that develops them into people that can make livings and develop things and be contributors to society.
True. We're
actually teaching them the version of it that teaches them to tear down a society. And that is what freaks me out is I feel like our colleges are purposely trying to deconstruct our society, and they're doing it through our kids.
Marxism. This is the Marxist rule book.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know, and this is these people aren't stupid. These professors and stuff are very intelligent.
Yeah.
But I can't fathom how they've let their intellect get so corrupted by this ideology.
Well, I don't think it's an accident.
No, I don't.
I think this whole thing is well planned. It's well planned. Like that's the scariest part of it. Is it's not like, you know, when a bad idea becomes an infectious, you have to cut it off and then you correct it, right? Well, this isn't a bad idea becoming infectious to them. This is, we don't want it the way it is, so we're going to purposely attempt to tear it down.
Well, this goes back to the KGB infecting our institutions. This goes way back to, you know, all the way back to there when that they had a purpose. They said, well, we can't really get to there, so we're going to go through there. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
We know that, you know, but it just seems like to me like just the whole thought processes have just been so obscured. And anyway, you could go on and on about all this stuff, but I guess the message for anybody who's watching this is just like there's a lot to dig into. But there's you got to kind of look at what Hamas is doing and say it doesn't really matter what they stand for, what it is, what they did, what they're doing, what they will do is evil, period. It's wrong. You cannot back that whatsoever. I would not back that if it was, I don't care what nation it was or who it was or what they said they believe. If they did stuff like that, I'm done.
I don't care how far right or left you are. If you don't see this as evil, then it's not about whether you're right or left. It's about whether you're ignorant or intelligent.
Yep.
And it's ignorance that says blowing up innocents, doing the evil things that were done is justifiable. That's ignorance. That's not intelligence. So,
you know, if you want to get thrown into it, you can look at the raw footage. I'm just saying it's out there. This reminds me of a while ago when I wanted to know what persecution was going on. This has been, man, I don't know, 10 years, 12, 15 years ago. I don't know. When I found some raw footage of like some priests being beheaded by ISIS. And that totally brought it clear as day. You know, when as a matter of fact, the knife he was using, not a sword, nothing like that. It was a knife, was too dull, and he had in the middle had to switch his knife. Now and all the time, God is great. So I have zero compassion for that shit. No.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No. And you know, it's just these ideologies and stuff. No, I mean, they need to be crushed, and they need to be crushed harshly and forcefully without prejudice.
Agreed.
And I'm lucky I'm not a military guy in eyesight of any of that stuff. I think I would lose my shit. I just do. I'd create I would create an international incident.
I don't understand. I honestly don't understand how, when our military is presented with something like that, even as a soldier, to see something like that happen, how they don't just come unglued and start wearing people out. Right.
Well, I hadn't prepared this, but I actually watched the interview of I think his name is Dallas Alexander, I think, on the Sean Ryan show. He has he's on the books for the world record sniper kill, 3,500 meters.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's a shot.
Yeah. And he actually got, he was during an op where he was outside of Mosul, I think is what it was. But he was talking about how they captured one of the ISIS people and they were bragging about how many young girls he had raped. Right. And he didn't see the interrogation, but they were told of it, right? And that fueled he did not get off. Like he said, that totally changed that op for him right then and there. He was like, every one I get rid of is 200, little girls that are saved or something, right?
Yeah.
And so he had him and his, because it wasn't just him. There was like either a 2 or a 4-man team. And they had a purpose. And I mean, that's what they did. They didn't get a lot of, snipers different. I mean, I've never been in that situation, so I can't, but I mean, he explains it really well in his interview, but like he stuck on that glass. I mean, and he was in hour upon hour just to get a shot, because he was saying every single one. I mean, it's crazy how much that enraged those guys. Yeah. But that's that's exactly what Hamas would do. Yeah. They're the same in their actions. So I'll put that down there, because that was actually a really good. He's a really good guy. Consequently, he got booted out of the Canadian military because he wouldn't mask up and he wouldn't get vaccinated around the COVID guys. So you have this special ops guy who's celebrated and who's done some really crazy things, and because he won't wear a mask, they let him go.
Is that the guy you really want to make mad? Yeah. Oh, you don't want to wear a mask? Cool. We're good.
Yeah, well, his story was pretty funny. He was like, the last straw was really like, they pulled him into this meeting at the whatever base he was in, and they said, you got to put a mask on. He goes, well, no, I'm not going to put a mask on. It's a charade. And so he said, but he goes, let me ask you this. Does everybody in there have a mask on? He goes, yeah. Then what are they worried about me for? They have a mask on. If the mask really works, they're fine.
Yeah.
And he was talking to the sergeant master sergeant or whatever, and master sergeant just switched his tone and kicked him out. But I mean, look, right or wrong, I don't care. I'm just saying Dallas was it was a very great interview on the Sean Ryan show. Everybody should watch it. It was fantastic. And they had, but he did, speaking of all that kind of stuff, it did bring that to mind. So, but speaking of like special forces and stuff, there's a thing that they do that I think is they've mastered self-discipline in order to get to where they're at.
Before we get to self-discipline though, Reg, we should get a word from our sponsor.
Okay. Are you a small business or solo entrepreneur looking for more of a presence online? Technology is ever changing, and with more and more people spending most of their time on screens, it's important to have your brand out and about, getting the most exposure possible. Worried about not having a big budget for website design or social media?
At Edwards Managed Technology Computer Consulting, we cater to every business or solo entrepreneur's individual needs to come up with a plan that works for your product and your wallet. Interested in learning about how we can manage your online presence so that you can spend your time doing what you love to do instead? Visit www.emtcc.net to make an appointment or give us a call at 1-888-551-2770. Mention R&B Talks for 10% off your appointment. Remote and on-site options available. Self-discipline, Reggie. Self-discipline. I've actually done some pretty good research on this one. I started off on the hunt for, I needed to know what self-discipline was and what self-discipline wasn't. So I started on Ligonier.com. Great website.
You know what? Before you talk about this, we're in Halloween season, right?
Yes.
Just a word for the wise. I am not the guy to try to do jump scare type of tactics with, by the way.
Dude, you just ruined my entire week.
If you want to get hurt, I don't go to haunted houses. I don't go to any of that stuff. I do not respond well to sudden
booms and shakes.
Well, not booms and shakes. Booms and shakes are fine, but like if you're like you get up in my face or something like real quick, or
are you twitchy? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you, like I
twitchy?
physically react.
Well, you know.
Okay. And this goes back to kind of some stuff I did in my 20s, but it just, I do, man. And so Call of Duty has this haunted thing they came out with, right? So it was last night was the first night I got to actually get in there and do, but they have these loot caches you can open, and some of them had like jump scares where they have this like, face comes out and real loud noise comes out, right? Mm-hmm. My nerves were done, bro. Like I couldn't. It's not, that is not something I'm cool with at all. And I think I wanted to say that because I'm not the only one, right? I mean, everybody needs to understand that there's people, whether they've been through something or there's like a training thing or whatever. I mean, you don't just think it's just Halloween and it's okay to just run up and somebody. You just might get your face knocked in stuff. I mean,
or worse.
Yeah, but I've done this. Okay, so I've like many moons ago went to somewhere with this. I don't even remember where it was or who it was. This guy came up in this house or whatever, and I don't even remember what. I just remember I punched this dude, knocked him straight out, and it was just a reaction. It wasn't even like a thought about it, or like it was just,
you were scared.
There's this guy that just came right out, not in my vision, came into my vision aggressively.
Yeah.
And if I see, that's like I'm looking at, it's just my senses go, here's an attack.
So I think what you're trying to tell me is never jump scare you.
Yeah, don't, bro. I can't. I just. I'll try. I'm not getting. Don't get me wrong. I will try not to.
Or jump scare you from 8 to 12 feet away.
If you can, that
Okay.
would be it. But I doubt if that's going to happen because I'm not going to be intimidated by that. But if it's like up in my space, like now my girls do this stuff all the time, but like they're my kids and they come up and it's like, I'm not hurting them at all. But if it's some guy or like some kind of stature at all, just some random, I'd react to that, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was thinking about that earlier.
All right.
And that may be part of self-discipline, maybe something I got to handle.
We know.
Oh man.
I kind of like it. I like the adrenaline rush, man. I dig
look,
it.
look, it's fine. I mean, it's cool.
Heart rate goes up about 20 beats.
For me, man, I got off last night early because I was like, nah, I'm done, man. I can't do. I was like my
hyper overstimulated.
Just my nerves were just done. It was like it's just no. It's just like police officers have these kind of reactions and it's kind of stuff like that, dude. But yeah, so don't. Word for the wise.
Yeah.
Be mindful of who you try to scare this Halloween season because they could be a person who does not take that well.
Legit skis.
Yeah, so it's legit.
But anyway.
I'm sorry, man.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
So what is self-discipline? The Greek word translated discipline, which is enkratia, comes from the root krat, which denotes power or lordship over oneself. Therefore, to discipline oneself for life. What is not self-discipline? In the 4th century, a British ascetic named Pelagius taught the fatal error that man has the inherent ability to both save and sanctify himself. By a person's sheer force of will, he claimed he is able to accomplish the divine will. By this, Pelagius denied original sin and the total depravity of mankind. The mere knowledge of the divine law, he insisted, is all that is needed. By his own free will, man may discipline himself by self-determination. So Pelagius denounced as a heretic by the Council of Carthage too. So let's not put a whole lot of what is Pelagius. But what is self-discipline? The ability to control oneself, to control one's actions. What is not self-discipline? The opposite. The ability not to control oneself and not to control one's actions.
I think self-discipline is one of those things that we all should be practicing and try to be better at every single day.
Agreed.
And I've been known to be stoic.
Mm-hmm.
One of the founding principles of like stoicism is self-discipline.
Yes.
And it's if you think about it, and I'll loop into this from the Daily Stoic, how Stoics build and maintain self-discipline. It's like moderation in everything. So there's one, like it's not just the bad, you don't drink too much or you don't eat too much or whatever. It's like everything. You have moderation and you try to keep yourself an even keel. Even when we talked about attributes of a man, that was one of them. It's like, you try not to be too high, too low. It's like you try to be as even keel as possible. So it helps you maintain your presence and your viability around people and stuff and how to solve problems. So it's important.
Except when you're jump scared. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. You put that, you can't put that big old nugget out there and me not chasing it.
No, bro, I'm telling you, it's cool.
So, all right. So foundationally, if we were to think about self-discipline, self-control, what would you say are the foundations? I know Stoicism is one of them because it's about being even keel, but what would you say are some of the foundations of being self-disciplined or disciplined?
Well, we talked about moderation. I would say the other one is like you control how your mind over your body.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is jump scares are really one of those that I'm terrible at. But you fully don't let your body like have control over what you do. So your urges, you know, your feelings, emotions don't control you. You control them.
Well, I think part of that is to be said is, you know, a thought is a thought. I might think about saying something to someone, and then I may say that, but it comes with contemplation on the effect of it, right? Sometimes we have to have self-control. The thought does not always drive the action, right? The thought is in the process of the action, but we as individuals control what we do with that thought, right? So, but it also comes to, I mean, it goes to, you know, gluttony, sloth, wrath, sexual promiscuity. All of those things are, just because you may have a thought doesn't mean that you follow with an action, right?
Well, this goes back to like not only is it the, you know, facts over feelings kind of thing, but it's also just like happiness is not the end goal.
Yeah.
Because whatever makes you happy isn't necessarily the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You have to control how you feel, and that's part of contentment.
Yeah.
So I'd say contentment's also part of here.
Yeah.
Self-discipline allows you to be content.
Which is something I work on a lot, is contentment. Like always being okay with being okay, right? Like,
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you don't always have to be like, woo, you know, on the.
And you know me, I'm a pretty happy guy all the time, but there's times where I'm just content where I'm at, right?
Well, I think in general, people wouldn't say I'm one way or the other.
Yeah.
You know, generally an laid back, okay guy, but on purpose. That's. I mean, let's face it. That's a purposeful thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to go around happy, woo, kicking my feet up in the air all the time. No, I don't want to be around like a mopey bastard either. I kind of want to just be chill.
I kind of want to see you kick your feet in the air.
No, you don't. No,
I don't know.
No.
It seems an interesting thought. But anyway,
but I mean, so if we think about examples of people who would exemplify self-discipline, like who would you kind of say?
Dude, tons of people pop into mind. Gandhi, right? You know, monks, just as a general sense, they're so disciplined. Friars, thinking about, you know, people who in the current time, you know, Jocko Willink, David Goggins, Joe Rogan, all guys that have gotten to where they are because of the high level of self-discipline that they have. You know, there's so many good examples of it out there. But I would say, yeah, that's probably, you know.
Well, I would even say, like, if I think about it, like authors, successful authors have
very
like
much so, yeah.
who write book after book. I mean, those dudes have to be, I mean, they have to have most of them have like a designated schedule. They have a routine and all this stuff to make sure that they can write words on a page.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I know, I forgot who it was now, but there was like, he said he would just write something and it did not matter what it was. Cause he said he tried to, writer's block is a real thing. And he would say, like, you know, you get to a point where you just and so he would just scribble like nonsense. He goes, it was just words, random words. He'd just keep writing.
For sure.
And eventually something would happen. Right.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And I mean, you're right. Like the guys who reach the top of their game, guys and gals, I'm not just going to be exclusive about that. Like, you know, dude,
Riley Gaines, national champion, world-class swimmer.
Well, Jackie Joyner Kersee.
Yeah.
Here you go. That's blast from the past, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, man. She was something else, man.
She was.
You know, people, just any Olympic athlete really, or most of the, you know, NBA guys and all that stuff, you know, there's a lot of self-discipline that goes into that. A lot of golfers. I haven't watched much of it. There's a Netflix where they follow like some PGA people or whatever. And the stuff they do that's pretty intense too. So it's just like really like CEOs and things like that, where you reach a certain level. In order to reach these high places. I mean, you really have to be a master of self-discipline in order to get there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's like, even like guys like Donald Trump and stuff. I mean, I imagine his, you don't get to that point.
You don't get the words billion in your net worth without having some self-discipline.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to happen. Right. But I think for us, man, it's like you don't have to be like a CEO or an NFL, quarterback or some famous actor or whatever in order to have self-discipline or to be a master at it. Like I'm not going to, being a Buddhist monk is not my thing, but that doesn't mean you can't live out those principles of self-discipline in your own life to be the best. If you're disciplined in what you're doing, you're going to be better at whatever you are,
Of course.
And, even in my own career, I mean, and it's, I think part of self-discipline too is like, you have to be courageous in that you have to conquer some fears. You have to like set aside things that might get in your way, and you can't be afraid to fail in order to try again.
Yeah.
That's a big part.
Failure is a lesson, man. Failure is not a result. It is a lesson. The result of a lesson learned, used to grow and go beyond where you were before. One of the things that I think is the biggest downfall for self-discipline is they only set themselves up for success and they do not prepare themselves for failure. Like you've heard it so many times. You'll have a person who's extraordinarily talented at something.
Yeah.
But they'll have a setback, maybe 2 setbacks. And all of a sudden it's, well, I could have been, but this didn't happen and that didn't happen. Who cares? If you want it, if you really in your heart of hearts want it, if you desire it, again, the difference between want and desire. We all want something, right? But what we desire, we will chase. If you truly desire something, you're willing to take big risks. If you truly desire financial freedom, you're going to take big risks to get it. If you truly desire spiritual freedom, you're going to take big risks to get it. If you truly desire physical freedom, health and well-being, you're going to take big risks to get it. And you're going to fall down. You're going to hit the floor. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have moments of trepidation and fear that are going to creep in. But it's this truly self-disciplined person that's going to take that and be like, all right, I felt that now. Now I know what that is, so I don't have to be afraid of it anymore.
Well, and I mean, you don't have to be a risk taker to be disciplined.
Yeah.
But you do have to you have to be, I mean, yeah, you're right. You have to be courageous in order to like push towards those things and keep trying and understand too, there is a point where you might fail at something, but that pushes you somewhere else that you're going to succeed. Right. I mean, there, it's not like you always have to like conquer everything and even the stuff you fail at, that's not it. True. That's not true. There's things that you fail at to kind of say, this isn't for you.
Yeah.
And you recognize that and go somewhere else.
Well, and you have to recognize too, you gave it everything you had.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I was a terrible insurance salesman, mainly because I don't like preying on the wills of other people, but I knew when I was done and left. Right. Like, and I didn't leave disappointed. Did what I could, sucked at it, moved on. Right. So again, it's the posture that you take with the result that you get, right? If you take a posture of failure and you take failure as the final result, yeah, dude, you're not going to get anywhere. But, if you take failure as a point of growth, man, there's no limits to where you can go, right? So here's a question. Do you think that past history and trauma can interfere with someone's ability to be self-disciplined? Uh-oh, I got deep.
Interfere?
Yeah.
Well, sure. Like if you had a business fail completely, then that could rattle you enough to where you don't get back on that horse again, or you decide to say no too much.
Yep.
Let's say you had there's all kinds of, like, with relationships and stuff. I mean, you could have like a traumatic ending of a relationship that, your perception of things changes, and, your ability to be self-disciplined about your appearance or something, that all changes. But for the most part, I think that for people who can push past those and understand more of like how that affected them and changed them and stuff, you can move and be better at things too, though.
Yeah, it's agreed.
I think trauma can do two things. It can either wreck you or it can build you.
Yeah.
There's no other ways around. I mean, I can speak to that from a personal level.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way I would be who I am today without some of the trauma I've had. But it didn't for a long time. That wasn't the way. But eventually it became something I recognized as a turning point that brought me to a different place and changed to fundamentally who I was.
Do you think it was a survivor's mentality that got you there? Like for me, the trauma that I went through, yeah, it had a massive effect on me. But eventually I realized that I survived, right? If trauma was bad enough to end me, it would have ended me. Right. So eventually I had to come to grips with the fact that I'd survived those traumas and was able to move through and get better, stronger, faster. Do you think that was the mentality that you took in your situation?
No, I don't think it was a survival thing. I think for me, it was more of a change of character, more of a maturity level that sped up instead of things like that. Looking at things a little, just changing my perspective about life in general and things. It just really did. And it took me a while though to get through that like hiccup, and really kind of just take that seriously and learn that it's okay to recognize that as something that you needed.
Yeah.
To get where you are.
Yeah.
And it was purposeful, that it had meaning.
For sure.
That it wasn't just something that was just bad and, for no reason. That would be, part of what brought me to the way my faith is all tied to my perspective of just that too. I mean, my whole faith journey was self-discipline, really. I mean, I saw something and I really wanted to dig into it. And so I had to make the effort to just say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to, it's going to be the way it is. So, I would say so. It's not so much survivor, but it did radically change my path.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about biblical examples of self-discipline.
You mean the whole book?
Not the whole book. That could be a very long podcast, Reggie. Like a long podcast.
Well, so I think any of the major characters could exemplify self-discipline. I mean, obviously Christ himself is probably the biggest example, but I think for me, if I look at how Jesus handled the Pharisees, like Jesus knew everything that was going to be said or done or whatever, and could, without turning them into a pillar of salt kind of thing. Like
Judas.
I know Judas, dude. Judas is a good one.
He knew. Dude, he knew. How Could you have not been like, bolt of lightning? Just once, Lord, just once, bolt of lightning, right? But here's interesting, Reggie. I was thinking about this after our utter technical breakdown of our original version of this as I was driving home. Mary and Joseph. So let's keep in mind, Mary was, 14, 15 years old, right? Back then, that was the age of marriage. And
I forget. I think so.
She was 14, 15 years old.
I think 16 is tops.
Yeah, but I'm thinking 14, 15, maybe 16. For an angel to appear before her, lay that on her, and for her to essentially look at that angel and go, okay, if it's God's will, we're good. Hey, underage person with a not fully developed brain, you're going to carry God's child. And then for Joseph, who was thinking about divorcing Mary, it was in his head, and the angel to drop before him and say, hey man, nah, don't be doing that. And for him to go, all right then.
But I mean, like the thing is that I would have, that's one of the things I would love to have like heard the whole conversation.
Yeah.
That was abbreviated, to kind of just to make the point and go away.
Yeah.
But you just got to wonder, really, what was that conversation, really like,
Well, knowing what we know about what angels actually really look like a giant eyeball with 5 wings and,
well,
that's kind of freaky.
It's still speculative though.
If that jumps into your room, the last thing I'm thinking is, all right, I'm thinking, what? But essentially you have a heavenly being appear before you, and to be self-disciplined enough in your faith to go, if that's God's will, I'm down. Right. Even if there was a moment of a little bit of freak out, I would understand that. Right. But in the end, for her, Mary, a 14, 15, 16-year-old girl, to look at that angel and go, okay, that's God's will. Let's go. Right. That's that. And it just popped into my head. I was like, we talked about Abraham. We talked about David. We talked about all these people that were self-disciplined and not self-disciplined. Man, Mary and Joseph, dude.
Well, okay. I did think about Solomon.
Oh, yes. Solomon.
And I'm like, okay.
The wisest man ever.
Yeah. And then to think that he's probably an example of how not to be, I mean, he was wise in what he said and wrote and some of the things like that, but all these women, all this stuff and everything else, and he still wasn't
never satisfied.
No. I mean, obviously there's a problem there, King David. He was, and then just threw it all away, had his best friend killed because he slept with his wife, got her pregnant. Stupid. He definitely wasn't self-disciplined.
His pendulum swung deep.
But at the same token, like, I mean, he did. I mean, him and God had a relationship though that I think everybody would want, right? I mean, and even in his faults, God saw that, right? I mean,
for when the baby
crazy.
died and he's wailing, and then he just stops, and everybody's like, "Dude, you were just freaking out," and he's like, "It's God's will, right?" Dude, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We're gonna burn you alive. And their response essentially was, no, you're not. We're good.
How many people were in that furnace, Brian?
Golly. He would ask me a question that I'm not ready for.
4.
That's right. There were 4.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Christ himself.
Christ himself. That's right. But they survived, to have the self-discipline.
But
to be
we're
going to roast you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I'm just saying, God showed up.
Yeah. God always shows up.
He does. But it's like, of all those things. And I mean, it's not like, this isn't one of those stories that like a group of people didn't witness. I mean, you had the rulers of, the king himself was saw all this, and it's not refuted in any kind of historical thing. Now, we don't have we don't have artifacts and stuff.
We don't have the oven.
No. But, I mean, it's just crazy, man. I mean,
But there's so many different depictions of men who are faced by atrocities of other men who stood strong on their faith. Abraham, he didn't want to sacrifice his son.
Well,
but he wanted to be obedient to God.
I think there's, if you look at, I don't know, there's so many, like, you can't look at some of the judges were cool, but Samson was interesting, but I don't know if he wouldn't be a self-disciplined guy
I don't know
either.
that I would consider Samson self-disciplined, right?
No, but you could look at Paul.
Yes, you could.
Like, that guy he really made it a point to be, even in prison and everything else, and all he went through, like, he was focused and he was determined, and it didn't, he was stoic. I mean, like, he didn't.
Well, but you talk about a guy that kind of got hammered a lot.
Yeah.
Paul. I mean, think about the things that he went through.
Sure.
I mean, and to get like trashed by the world that much and continue to be stoic, stay in the ritual of prayer, stay in the ritual of spreading the word. I mean, I couldn't possibly ask for a better version of
and to keep writing. I mean, keep writing and keep writing and keep
his
writing.
His letters were epic.
And they were, I mean, Romans is one of my favorite things of all time, dude. It was just such a like freaking a guidebook to how to be how to be a Christ follower. It's crazy, but yeah, there's a lot of biblical examples that it's riddled with people who just made that choice. Yeah. And we can see those today. I mean, like Billy Graham.
Yeah,
another great example of self-discipline, whose prayer routine was unwavering.
Yeah.
And it was definitely an example of self-discipline. Like, this was important. He made sure it was. He made sure he always kept that kind of stuff going on. I mean, Bob Goff, another guy, incredibly self-disciplined guy he was always moving, always trying to do stuff and always helping people all the time. I mean, it's incredible. But again, it's not about success, but you can blatantly see the successful ones as having self-discipline.
Yeah.
They're the ones who can tell themselves no very easily. They, for example, in the MentorHouse, the one I'll put down here, but they've got priorities set. They don't complain about anything, and they definitely tell themselves no, right? And those are 3 principles of it. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
But, for me, I've turned down lots of opportunities that would have interfered with my role as a husband and a dad. Mm-hmm. And that, because it was, look, that's not my priority. My priority is not necessarily making more money. I don't, more money is always nice, and you have to play the game, but you have to have your priorities straight.
Yeah.
So my self-discipline says I'm going to kick ass as much as I can. I'm going to do the things I need to do to be successful. They can do whatever they want. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to be doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep my priorities straight. I'm not going to whine about it. Yeah. And that's there it is, man. So there's a lot of good. I mean, self-discipline is a key thing for today because it's missing this instant gratification mindset, the happiness over everything, all these kind of, what I would say was dangerous ideologies are minus self-discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, hats off to any of those guys who are like especially those special forces guys who've just been so disciplined in what they're doing to make it to the big leagues of that kind of stuff. And especially my friends in North Carolina around Fort Bragg, who I'll just say hats off, because I know that what they've done in order to do what they've done and get where they're at. Man, that's some discipline right there, man.
Why don't we give them some ways to better their self-discipline?
Let's hear it.
There is BetterUp.com, Self-Discipline, a quick guide to becoming more and better than you are. Wow, that's the title. But it has some good tips. So here are some tips to show you how to build self-discipline. 1, write down your goals. Okay. Number 2, Practice prioritizing. I feel like that's part of the struggle, is knowing what's a priority and what isn't, right? A priority isn't always a feel-good thing, right? A priority sometimes is, I need to get the work done before the feel-good done, right? Number 3, know your weaknesses, right? Be aware of what you're not good at and play to your strengths, not to your weaknesses. You can always work on building your weaknesses up, right? But it's like I tell people when I'm working out, you know, we're going to work on your strengths and we're going to build up your weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
Number 4, surround yourself with wise counsel to be held accountable, right? Make sure that you've got people around you that will actually hold you accountable. Number 5, change your perspective. If you have a perspective of, you know, instant gratification, you have to change that perspective. If you have a perspective of, you know, that loser perspective, I can't get it right, I can't succeed, you got to change that perspective, right?
But on that note, it's not okay. It starts with, I need to change.
Yes.
So that has to follow up with an action.
Yes.
And I would say this is something I've told to many people. You have to be the one to tell yourself enough times that you believe it. Change does not happen unless you have a internal conversation that you commit that to be, you will defeat whatever is in your way.
Yes.
To making that happen. So I've counseled, I don't know how many people, including my own daughter, that you always got to be telling yourself where you want to go.
Yes.
And if that means a change, it's changing that atmosphere, that thought pattern. And you can't do that unless you inject the right thought pattern.
Absolutely.
And that has to be on purpose at first.
Yeah.
You have to purposely start doing that in your own brain, in your own mind, just over and over again, telling yourself, this is how I want to be, or no, this is, you have to have these internal conversations over and over again until it becomes where it's happening without you even thinking about it.
Absolutely. Be mindful of your urges.
Yeah.
Okay. So I talk about this one because something that I've discovered is when I have an unhealthy, like, food or actionable urge, there's usually something triggering that. So you have to learn to recognize your triggers, right? Stay away from environments that trigger unhealthy thoughts, urges, things like that. Next, forgive yourself. Go ahead.
Hold on.
All right, sweet.
We got to talk about that one a little bit more.
Yes. Okay.
And
I kind of thought we were being short on that one, so let's go back to that one.
No, we do, because I mean, this is a huge one, right? If you struggle with lust, for example, which is 99% of male people in the
Yep.
if you struggle with that, don't put yourself in places where that is going to be a thing. So what I mean by that is, well, don't go to a freaking strip club, for one.
Yeah.
That's an obvious one, but look, people don't put that together. But it doesn't matter what the occasion is. It doesn't matter what it is. No, don't. Restrict your internet traffic so you can't go to porn sites and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
I mean, look, do that. Change what you look at online.
Yeah.
I mean, don't go look at the freaking, what's the thing now? Those, Instagram models thing. I mean, dude, they're riddled everywhere.
Dude, I don't even know how to get it. I mean, that's
well, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're a guy, if you go to search for something on Instagram, it's just there.
Yeah.
You can't really avoid that, but don't look at it.
Scroll past it.
Yes. Just don't.
Your thumb works to scroll past that.
You have to anything else. Mind over body.
Yeah.
Know that you know your urges, know what they're there. You let your thought move your body to a different place.
Yeah.
Don't go to a bachelor party. That's going to have a bunch of stupid stuff going on. That's just one example. If you know you're a spendthrift and you have to save more, you're in trouble with that. Well, then what do you need to do? You got to you got to take action to make sure that you lessen the availability of the funds so you have that to do that with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or there's all kinds of things, but take action that would limit your exposure to whatever that is.
Yes.
That's the big one.
I know. Forgive yourself and move forward. Dude, if you failed, put it in the past and move on. It's okay to fail. It's okay not to do something right. It's okay to make a mistake.
True change takes time.
Yes.
And it's not just a day or two.
Yes, sometimes it can take years.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to fall and you're going to fail and you're going to do all kinds of things, but you just have to keep at it for real change.
Yeah. And lastly, have a backup plan. Just like you said earlier, sometimes you fail to know that you're not good at something. So know other things that you have a talent or are good at in order for you to know where you're going to go next, right? Okay, so this didn't work out, but I'm also pretty good at this. So here's my backup plan, right? If you pile it all on one thing and it collapses, you're going to make it 10 times harder to crawl out of that hole, right? So have a backup plan, whatever that might be. You know?
And make sure your plan doesn't include just like one day.
Yeah.
Okay. Like there's some cases where you need hourly goals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I get that. Like if you're battling some kind of addiction or whatever, I mean, that's like, you may have it where your goal is to make it 2 hours. Your goal is to make it 4 hours. Your goal is to make it a day. Your goal is to make it 2 days. I mean, you have to have goals, but you have to have different. In other words, you're staging out your success, your successfulness, right? Yeah. So that you can have some success. Mm-hmm. So you plan successes for your ultimate success, I guess. Yes. Is what a better way to put it, right? I mean, like anything you're going to do, you have a short-term goal, mid-term goal, long-term goal. You know, if you say, well, I'm going to, in 5 years, I'm going to, my ultimate goal is I want to be at this weight and have this much body fat or whatever, for example. Well, you're not going to get there tomorrow. So what's your action plan to do today? Mm-hmm. Cool. Then did I meet my goal today? Tomorrow, here's my goal. You know what I mean? You got you have to have these small goals that lead to your ultimate goal.
Also, you need to be able to self-assess. See, I think that's a big break. I've seen people look at failure as success in the sense of, no, I didn't fail. Well, that becomes self-delusion. You need to be able to self-assess and say, yeah, I could have done this better.
Well, and if you don't have it, get some people around you that will tell you.
Yeah. Like you have to have people that'll say, no. Yes. Did you get to the point where you could get to? Yes. Did you get there in the best way? No, you didn't. Honest people that will say to you, dude, you're going in the wrong way. Right. But part of that is that oversight from having that, wise counsel. Be willing to tell them everything and let them, take constructive criticism well. Right. Because if someone's constructively criticizing you, they care about you. If they're criticizing you for the sake of criticizing, that's a different story. But if someone's taking what you do and they're giving you the positives and the negatives and trying to help you build, that's a whole different ballgame, right? So take constructive criticism. Be okay with constructive criticism.
Yeah. Know thyself.
Know thyself. Yeah. Okay. So one thing I do know is I will not be a successful singer.
Yeah. I'm constructively telling you no.
You're being my wise counsel right now. I'm being like, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no amount of auto-tune that's going to help you out, bro.
I don't know. I've heard some terrible voices get auto-tuned and sound pretty good.
I'd bet. I'm just saying don't make a career of it. Really.
Sweet.
I mean, The Rock in that one song in Moana, man. I mean, that dude had autocorrect all over the place.
Oh yeah. Well,
But, that's a Disney song. So if you want to sing a Disney tune, I guess you could do that. But
dude, it's like a cartoon. Like he's not going on tour. At least not for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate your constructive criticism, wise counsel. So anything else, Reg? What you got on your mind? Anything else?
No, I mean, it's some interesting times, man.
It is.
I have a lot going on. I'm grateful for it. It's an interesting time, dude. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah. And I hope we impact and make a difference.
I think we will.
Yeah.
I think because we have a heart for wanting to help, that's going to take us a long way, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And besides that, likes, dislikes, comments,
fussing, cussing,
wrestling, as my relatives say. We're wrestling. I don't know what that is yet.
Wrestling.
I've never wrestled anybody. I've wrestled some people, but I've never wrestled anyone. But yeah, reach out. We want to hear from you. We love the fact that you're listening. Whether you agree or disagree, we love to have those conversations.
Pray for peace.
That's right. Keep Israel in mind, man. They're getting shelled right now.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the innocent Palestinians in mind. And
pray for Hamas.
Pray for Hamas, man. They may be completely misled. Devil's a tricky dude. Likes to do tricky things.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, we're two guys.
Thanks, y'all.
See ya.
Later.